All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining the OneCloud product update. My name is Brian Meyers, and joining me today is Tony Scalese, our Chief Customer Officer. We're just going to get started with a brief overview of OneCloud for those of you who may or may not be familiar with our platform. So OneCloud is a next-gen iPaaS technology that we've built to empower business users to build their integrations, data transformations, and automate their business critical applications. We operate on applications that can be either in the cloud or on premises. And we also have the ability to really scale and provide the service of an enterprise data integration with some of our features like lifecycle management, as well as just the array of applications that we provide that can touch into all the different business units. The first thing we're going to go over today is some of OneCloud Studio's new and enhanced features. The first one is the auto chain layout. So this feature has been in the studio for a little while now, but we've actually updated it to produce a more compact layout. We listened to a lot of your feedback and we heard that sometimes the commands were a little bit too spread out. So we found a way to kind of compact that layout and really provide the best experience to lay out your chain in a way that your users can very easily navigate what's going on in that chain. To use this feature, it's just at the top right of the studio canvas. You'll see a gear icon, and then you'll see the option to auto layout that graph. The next feature that we're going to go through is the HTTP webhook. So we've had webhooks for different technologies before, but this is a generic trigger for a chain. So this webhook will basically provide a URL that can be protected via authentication, and any application can send a post request to this URL with some JSON data, and that chain will then kick off and be able to use that data throughout all of the commands and events within the chain. What this does is it enables your chains to really respond to real-time events that are happening in other applications. So, in the event that, an AR invoice is created or a journal entry, the chain can react immediately and propagate that data to other systems as needed. The next feature that we're going to go through is skipped branches. So for those of you familiar with the studio, you connect all these different nodes together using branches, and those branches have conditions. So you could only want a command to run if the previous command failed, or it succeeded, or there was a warning. But sometimes you want the subsequent commands to actually be able to run even if the command before it didn't run at all. So you'll notice a new option when editing a link condition, and it's link executes when the parent command is skipped. So regardless of whether or not the command before it ran, you'll actually be able to continue down the graph of the chain and continue executing commands. This is especially useful when you're doing conditionals and you need to basically branch off into two separate workflows that then converge back onto a single node. You may or may not need to use the skip condition there. Our next feature that we're going to go through is an addition to the Handlebars Biz App. So Handlebars is a template engine that you can use within OneCloud to create text or file outputs. And previously it just supported text variables. You can now use JSON variables in your Handlebars templates, which enables things like looping over a JSON array to produce a dynamic list or set of data in that template, as well as just accessing values in JSON objects. So if you have more complex structures that you need to access the data within, you can now pass those JSON objects right into one of the Handlebars variables. Our next feature is an addition to smart filters. So smart filters is a way to basically filter your data, and we have different types of conditions and operations that you can do for strings or text, numbers and dates. So we've added the ability to, after you've set up all these conditions, you can actually just set a not value. So it'll be the opposite of all the conditions that you've set up, as well as for number filters, we now have the ability to absolute value the values that you're testing against to filter out that data. And when you're using the inverse option, it's really just like a powerful way to use multiple conditions together, and really you can do any combination of conditions to match whatever sort of filter that you need on that data. The next feature we're going to go through is the split files command. So this command actually exists both in the file utilities and the tabular transformations BizApp. For the file utilities BizApp, you're able to split a file based on number of lines or record count, of the size. So you could say, you know, I want chunks of 10 megabytes of this file, or even a regular expression. And what that's going to do is it's going to test each line for that regular expression. And every time that expression matches, it's going to create a new chunk of the file. So there's a lot of different ways to chunk that up. And the purpose behind that is you can actually enable parallel processing of the data in a file. So imagine that you have a file that's, you know, a terabyte in size, or, you know, 500 gigabytes. It could be time consuming to do the, you know, transformations and whatever processing you need to do of that data in a linear fashion. So this enables you to process each chunk in parallel. And of course, the output of the split files command is an array of files, and you can pass that to an iterator within OneCloud. And a good complementary command to this split files is the tabular transformation stack files. So once you're done processing all the data, let's say that you've produced new data sets with all the transformations applied, you can now stack those files all together again and bring it back into a single data set. The next feature we're going to go through is Sql Get Table Definition. So for all of our BizApps that are relational, you now have a command to get the definition of that table. So what does that mean? That's going to give you all of the columns in the table and their type. It's also going to give you a list of the primary keys in that table, as well as the foreign keys in that table. So this can be useful to, you know, maybe just do some checks, you know, ensure that a certain column exists in the table. There's a lot of different use cases, but you can also use this in combination with Handlebars to build a create statement for a new table. So you could essentially build out a chain that, you know, takes a table and copies it using this command. Now, there's lots of other use cases as well, and I'm sure a lot of you will find a great use case for them. So we're excited to see that. Additionally, another feature that regards the relational BizApps that we have is Sql Upsert. So if you're not familiar with a Sql Upsert or an Upsert, it basically allows you to take a data set and load it directly into a SQL table, but it will just update rows that are not unique. So if it finds a clash between two rows based on a unique identifier, rather than inserting a new row, it's just going to update the existing one. There's lots of workarounds and ways to do this on your own, but we decided to create a command directly for this, as it's a very common use case when syncing data between applications. And we actually, and not all relational databases actually have a native SQL command to do this. So we've made it possible with all the relational BizApps, or most of the ones that support pushing data in, to be able to do a Sql Upsert. You can specify the record uniqueness by one or more of the columns that's in the table, and the value template input to that function, which also exists in the insert statement for our relational BizApps. That's a way that you can apply SQL functions to the data that's going to be loaded into the table. So most commonly, you can run, you know, on one of your columns. Let's say it's coming from SQL Server and going to Oracle. The date formats might be different in those columns, so you can execute a function on every field in that column to convert it to the correct format of the date, so that it can be loaded into the other database. Moving on to our next feature, we have the enhanced variable transformation. So within OneCloud, there's lots of outputs and things that you can use within commands, and sometimes you need to transform that data. So the transformations I'm going to go through here are particular to strings or text variables or outputs. So we have the ability to uppercase, lowercase. You can trim the white space on the beginning or the end. You can capitalize, titleize. We also have a padding. So if you need to produce padding on that text. And a really cool one is the split. So you can actually take a comma separated text value and split that into a JSON array. Once you've done that, you can actually throw that into a command or command group iterator and actually process each item in that list. And lastly, we have the replace function. So you can basically replace text with some other text based on some rules that you've set. And with all transformations within OneCloud, you can stack these together all inside one transform of one variable. So it's all in one place. You can see exactly what's going on with that data and how it ended up becoming the way that it did within your chain. So that's it for the features that we've added. Now we're going to go through just a high-level overview of some of the new Biz Apps that we've added in the past couple months. So Microsoft OneDrive, Microsoft Dynamics CRM. We just released the Previdary Biz App, as well as Trintech and Domo. So for any of you interested in working with those, if you need any help, feel free to reach out to us, of course. We'd love to hear your use case and get you up and running on those Biz Apps. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Tony Scalese, and he's going to walk you through the OneCloud Academy.
Great, thanks, Brian. And Brian heads up the team that has delivered all these awesome features to you. So many kudos and thanks to him for the continued efforts. So diving a little bit into what we've seen is what's already in the product. This is also something new that we've just recently launched. So we call it the OneCloud Academy. It's an online learning management system that allows you to take courses online in a self-paced format. Combination of narrated presentations with exercises that reinforce the material that you just watched and learned, as well as in some cases reference videos and then quizzes to ensure that you do indeed have an understanding of that material before you move on to the next set of content within that course. Nice thing about this is the certificates are issued upon completion, so you can throw those out on LinkedIn. A nice way to just kind of brag about your continued growth of yourself as a professional. We have a combination of free and paid courses. So right now we have a free course, OneCloud Introductory, which you'll see on the next slide. But there is a plan to deploy some paid courses as well. One caveat here, you need to be a trial or licensed user of OneCloud or one of our registered partners. So if you are interested in gaining access to our LMS system, just shoot us an email at training@onecloud.io and we'll happily get you set up. So this is a sample lesson from the course, just a quick screenshot here. You can see the middle section there, that's the video with obviously your play button, but then you can see below it, there's some exercises and those are accordions. So when you click on add a workspace, it actually expands and gives you the tasks that you need to do to perform that high level exercise of adding a workspace or creating a workspace variable, so on and so forth. So all web-based, very easy to use, and geared to help ensure that you understand all the capabilities of OneCloud. What we currently have available, as I said before, the introductory course, that's free. Our planned courses that are coming, the Administrator, Developer 1 and 2, Oracle for Anaplan, Oracle for EPM Cloud, and Oracle Data Prep, or I'm sorry, OneCloud Data Prep. Those are in the works. These things take a good amount of time, so you'll see these coming over the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months. But we should have a rich catalog over the next 12 months. And then particularly for the partners that have joined us today, we will have a certification exam that will absolutely be a testament to your OneCloud knowledge, and again, something that you can attach to your professional profile that shows that you're adept at OneCloud. So look forward to having those roll out to you over the coming months. Okay, so let's talk about what's coming. This is the exciting part, right? This is what you came here likely to hear. So 2 primary things that we really want to talk to you about today. The first is chain templates. This is something that we've talked about internally for a good amount of time. It's something that our partners and our customers have asked us about in different flavors and cuts. And so now this is really starting to come to fruition. We've actually started the development efforts on this, and it should be here soon. But what it is it's basically a new addition to what you generally think of as OneCloud today, we're calling OneCloud Studio, and you'll understand why in a moment. But to OneCloud Studio, you'll be able to create these reusable templates that can be used to create chains across workspaces. And so one of the questions we often get is, can I move a chain from one workspace to another? We know we can do it through promotion from environment to environment within a workspace, but how do I move them across workspaces? Well, chain templates is how you're going to do that. So it gives us the ability to create standards and deploy those across the different chains we do. That's good because standards are always good. You want to always make sure that you're developing in a consistent fashion so that you're getting good quality data and it's reliable and repeatable. But it also helps you speed up that deployment. So by having a design pattern, a template, you can deploy and make modifications that are specific to that individual integration or chain, and then it's much faster. You can create these templates from scratch, or you can even take an existing chain that you've built and you're really proud of and you think really adds a lot of value, and you can actually create a template from that chain. So that's a really interesting and fun feature that I'm really looking forward to. Right? So I can actually build it, test it, run it, make sure it's good, and then I can convert that into a template so that then I can use it to create chains in other workspaces or even in other tenants. So it'll be wizard based, just like everything within OneCloud. So it's going to be there'll be a UI in front of it. If I've got a template that I want to transition into a chain, I run through my wizard. That's, again, UI based. And then after that, my chain is ready to go. For the partners, this is really exciting. Branded templates. So an immutable way to create a template and use that across the different engagements that you have with customers. So you can say, this is our standard approach to doing this. And you can deploy OneCloud faster for that customer. And because it will have a branded logo in that chain that can't be removed, can't be taken out, that will give you that comfort that, hey, this is something that we've developed, we're proud of, and this is ours. And then you'll be able to deploy that to your different customers. Over the longer haul, we're really looking to develop kind of a marketplace. If you think of the iTunes store as an example, where if you choose to, you could have templates out there that customers can go out and purchase and download. And we have the vision that those templates will be able to function in two different ways. One where they stay connected to the marketplace. So if you iterate that template, you make updates based on continuing to refine it, or one of the systems with which that template interacts has a change and requires additional commands within that chain, then you make those changes to the template. And if the customer stays subscribed, then those changes will get pushed down. They'll have the ability to say yes or no, I want them to be pushed down. And then it would automatically reflect in their chain. Or they could do it disconnected, where they go out, they purchase it from the store, they bring it into their tenant, but at that point it's disconnected and any updates you make would not be automatically available to them. So a lot of different interesting things that we're thinking about. Those things that I described later on will come a little bit later. But what you see here on the screen now, that will all come in the first release of this. So you heard me talk about Studio and the reference to Studio and why we're kind of talking about that branding a little bit. And the reason for that is a new product that we're launching. We call this OneCloud Data Prep. If you were on our previous product update webinar, we talked about Mapping Integration Studio, MIS. Well, we figured when Brian and the team kind of went back and they said, people don't really know exactly what those terms always mean, but data prep is a word in integration and ETL that people should understand and should really make sense to folks. So OneCloud Data Prep is what we formally called Mapping Integration Studio. So we're launching this in September. I've been working with it over the last couple of months. It's really fantastic. And I'm not saying that just as a OneCloud person. I've spent my entire career managing getting data between systems, and seeing the power of data prep and the flexibility of it is really exciting to me. It will integrate directly with OneCloud Integration Studio, what you're used to today. There'll be an additional Biz app called Pipelines. That's subject to change, but there'll be just basically a Biz app where you say, okay, I want to use this pipeline or this component of data prep to take my data that came from one system, perform some transformations on it, and then send it over to another system. The reason that this is a standalone product, though, is that, it's a new product, is because it can be used standalone. We're going to provide a command line interface. So if, for example, a customer has some enterprise level tool that does what OneCloud does, and they don't want to upset that apple cart, or they're unwilling to, but they need that transformation capability. Well, we'll give you the ability to run data prep through command line from other systems. So send a data feed into it. OneCloud data prep will do the transformation, and it will send a response back. And so it'll be a nice way to integrate with other enterprise systems. So that's very interesting too. And this is all graphical. So it's a graphical way to manage technical and functional transformation. And I'll talk about in a second what functional transformation is, what technical transformation is, because I know those terms don't always resonate with people. Well, the key thing about this, and what really makes me excited, is how flexible this product is. And the way it's done is by being less prescriptive. Some of the tools with which I have prior experience were very prescriptive. You needed to follow a sequence. And if you did that, those tools worked really well. But if you had a process or a requirement that deviated from that, well, you tended to pay a performance premium. In some cases, in other cases, you paid a functional premium. There was a premium associated with that. By us being less prescriptive and allowing you to really build your transformation as the requirements need, it's much more flexible. And that's why I'm excited about it, right? So if you want to learn more about this or see a pre-release demo, reach out to us at info@onecloud.io, and we'll happily set something up with you. So I talked about technical transformation and functional transformation. What's technical transformation? Well, it's the idea of modifying a data set layout or format. So I come from the Oracle EPM space. I think a lot of users, particularly if you're Oracle EPM Cloud, you're familiar with Cloud Data Management or Fdmee, the on-premise version. Think about an import format. What do I need to do to actually take that data set and grab the columns from it that I need, and maybe do some lightweight changes to them or transformation? So we have a lot of different things here. We can add, remove, rename, merge, shift columns. We can add row numbers. We can uppercase or lowercase values. We can split things. So if you've got some field that has a delimited value in it, you can say, okay, this is a semicolon, or not a semicolon, maybe an underscore delimited column. Well, then split that column out into multiple new columns. We can also do sorting. Great filtering capabilities. So if we want to pull things out of the data set that really don't need to be there, we can do that on the technical transformation side. And then we can do math operations like netting columns together. So I've got debits and credits. If I think about kind of a financial close process, I might net those things together to get what my actual balance is. So a lot of really powerful features of the technical transformation. On the functional transformation side, this is mapping. This is building a relationship between the data models of different systems. So what is my chart of accounts over here in this system, this source system where I'm going to pull data, and what is the chart of accounts or the dimensionality or the list over in my target system where I'm going to be loading the data? And what's the relationship between those things? Really, really flexible capability here. I have the ability to do that relationship building based on exact matching. So this code equals this code. We can do it based on ranges or patterns. So if you think about, whether you're going to do kind of a star or a question mark for a single character, or you might even do a regex. We support all of those different things. And what's really great about this is we support them with conditions. So you might look at multiple fields within the data set to determine that actual transformation, that target value. One of the things that I've heard from customers for years is, give me the ability to make my mappings calendar based. I know at the end of this year, I'm going to have a reorg and I'm going to have to change my mapping. How do I manage that? Well, native to the platform, native to this new product, we have the ability to end date a set of mapping rules. So you can say, okay, as of 12/31, these are no longer valid. Here's the new set. And so you'll be able to create a new set and just say that that's effective as of 1/1/2021. And when the system clock flips over and you run the data through, it'll use that new set of mapping rules. So that's really nice to see. Another thing that I've heard customers clamor about for years is, I want to be able to share maps in a more granular fashion. Right now, if I share a map, I share it across everything. Well, we've given you the ability to break that up based on the fields. So I might want to share the mapping that relates to my companies or my GL accounts, but not necessarily everything else. Well, we've given you the ability to break it up in that way, but also even more granular than that. So you could say, I want to take my exact matches for my companies, and I want to share that map out, and I want to let multiple people leverage that, but I want to have my pattern mapping not be shareable. I want that to be maintained by an administrator, for example. And so we have that ability. So you can mix and match these things together. Again, not prescriptive, flexible. So that's really great. You definitely have to be able to upload these things. Nobody wants to type in dozens, hundreds, possibly thousands of mapping rules. So these will all be able to be imported directly from a text document. Easy, no big deal there. Really nice thing that I also like about the platform is I can actually preview the results as I'm building that definition, as I'm writing that mapping rule. So I put in my 4 or 5 lines of this code equals that code. I can actually see it live painting on the screen against a sample data file. I'm not going to see the whole data file, unless it's a small one, but I'm still seeing the impact of that action. And then obviously historical versions, just like in OneCloud Studio, you'll have versions of all these different things. So whenever you make an update, it will auto create a version of that. So you can always go back and see, what was the map before, who changed it, when was it changed, all those things that are important specifically for audit purposes. People want to understand, what was the transformation that was applied and how did it change? So that's functional transformation, technical transformation. Again, I came from the Oracle world where those two things were very prescriptive. Now they're use them as you need them. And what's nice about this is I don't have to use them in sequence. I don't have to do my technical transformation first and then my functional. I might do some functional transformation for one of the fields and then do some technical transformation based on the output of that functional transformation, and then go back and do more functional transformation. So it's incredibly flexible, very powerful as a result. And I think everybody will really like this product. We're really excited about it. We've been working with this, we're working on this for a long time. So really excited to have people give us their thoughts on this. So please feel free to reach out to us again, info@onecloud.io, and happily set up a conversation to talk more about this. So with that, I'm going to open it up for questions. I see a few questions in the panel here. So if you'll give me a second here, I will just kind of read through the first one here and read it back for everybody. So where can we get a summary of all this information, and do you have examples of how to use these features? So great question. The webinar is recorded, and we'll be sharing that out to all the folks that registered for it. So you'll you'll get a video recording of this or a link to a video recording of this as well. It'll be on our website. So you'll have that. We have our release notes that talk about everything that we've delivered, and we actually have a release coming up this Saturday. So there's some good things coming. There's a lot of good things coming actually on Saturday. So take a look for those release notes, which are in our discussion forums. And then examples of how to use these features are again within our support discussion forums. There's a lot of good information there. So if you're not currently subscribed to that, or you're not currently following those, definitely recommend doing that. So if you go to support.onecloud.io and then click on discussions, you'll see our forums there. All right, so another question, and Brian, I'm going to kick this one over to you, but the question is, will chain templates support exporting to file?
Great question. So we actually will not be supporting exporting those to a file. There's various reasons behind that. But maybe this doesn't exactly cover the use case and why you asked that question, but what they will support is they'll have versioning. So you'll be able to track all the changes that happen to a chain template, as well as you'll have the ability to share these templates, right? So a common use case maybe for exporting to a file would be so that you can then import to, say, another tenant or user. That will all be native to the platform. You'll be able to do that right from within our platform. So you don't have to worry about that.
Thank you, Brian. So I know we're at time. So feel free to stick with us. We've got a few more questions here. Also mindful of folks' time. If you need to drop, again, this is recorded, but we'll stay and we'll continue to answer the questions that have come through. And if you are able to stay with us, then great. We're happy to have you. So next question is kind of a statement and a question. These features are nice to learn about. Do you have any materials that I can share with my non-technical management team that cover OneCloud benefits? So thank you for the question. It's a great question. We definitely do. Please feel free to reach out to us at info@onecloud.io, and we can certainly get you whatever you need in order to talk to your management team. We can also support you through our trial and helping you get onto the platform. Our trials are no risk whatsoever. There's no commitment. You can sign up for a free 30-day trial. At the end of that trial, if you decide that OneCloud is right for you and your organization, we simply flip a switch in the background and your trial becomes a full licensed use tenant, and anything that you've built in that 30-day trial window, you don't lose anything. So it's a really nice way to experiment with the platform, make sure that it's right for you before actually making a decision. But again, reach out to us. We'll work with you, and no problem to get you the materials you need. Another question here is, with data prep, can I support allowing end users to upload their own data files and have a predefined role process that file? So the answer is yes, absolutely. You can do that. You can do that, as I described a little bit earlier, through a combination of chains and data prep coming through together with this new Biz app that we'll call pipelines. So within your chain, you would have the upload file event. And from there, a user could select a file locally or on the network, import that into the chain. The chain can process that, pass it into data prep through that pipeline, have data prep perform its operations, and then continue the processing of the rest of the chain, whether it's loading it into a performance management system, a BI system, whatever the case might be. That is absolutely supported. And then as of right now, we have one final question. This is an interesting one. Can data prep be a replacement for Fdmee? So for customers that are Oracle EPM Cloud or on premises, one of the primary applications that's been used, particularly in the consolidation side, but we see it even more so now in the planning domain, is cloud data management, or Fdmee. That application, data prep, should be able to deliver the functionality that Fdmee has. So I like to think positively. I'm really excited about what OneCloud Data Prep is, and I don't ever want to say something negative about another product. right? I want to be positive about what OneCloud is. I do believe that OneCloud can do everything that Fdmee does and do it very well. And I think you'll be excited to see it. So if you're interested in learning more about it and understanding, is it right for you, then absolutely reach out to us and we'll happily have a conversation. So with that, I don't see any other questions coming through, but again, thank you for your time and attention today. And we look forward to our next update.